labeling it
Oh,
as
sorry.
neurodivergent. That's all right. But just looking at differences um, and different people's needs and how different brains might work. I'm specifically thinking, as I said to Simon, mine's quite an extreme case where probably the minimum age in our groups is 85, um, and a very white middle class community. Then trying to get awareness of neurodiversity. So yeah, just talking was useful in making me think
Mm.
maybe don't do it that way, just talk about differences because the differences are just so wide and multiple. And I use the example of my two children who are almost polar opposites with their autism.
Mm. Yeah. Well, one thing that we were saying was that there's an entire difference between capability and capacity, particularly when it comes to claiming benefits. That you can go through something like a PEP form, a work capability form, and yes, you can be perfectly capable, but for a couple of hours. But they don't seem to be bothered about the fact that anything but you can do that, so you can work. Well, yes, but only for a short time, and then if you do that for any length of time, we'll be off. So there needs to be that understanding that it's not just the actual activity that's the thing, it's the effect of it afterwards.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, that's a good point now. Very good point.
It was a good point, and sorry to come in there. I was just thinking it's similar to what we hear from young people in school. You know that similarly they can do these things, but it's at what cost? You know,
Yeah.
to themselves, and if they're particularly where they're masking for long periods in school, and no one would necessarily be aware that they were having that struggle, and then yeah, the fallout and the meltdown that they experience afterwards, and the burnout. You know, is so damaging. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Laura and Cindy and Neil. It's just making people more aware because I think a lot of, in my experience, it's people aren't trying to be discriminatory. It's often just they don't understand what a neurodivergent person is going through, and they might think they're a bit standoffish or they're not getting engaged in things, and just this sort of activity like this network today is just trying to make groups more aware of what you can do to support people. Any other feedback from the breakouts?
Yeah, just from me, I thought it was really good to just speak to other people and get some advice as well from other people who, yeah, have got experience.
Thank you, Emma. Yeah, and that's the whole goal of this network is we get you all talking together. But I'll get your feedback on all that very shortly. So we'll just go back to my slides. So we just want to ask you while we have you all in the room, what do you think is working now? Are there any resources you want to share? Anna's obviously mentioned a lot already in her presentation, but any resources, any training you think is needed? At CVS, we offer the Introduction to Neurodivergence in the voluntary sector training. But yeah, anything you think will be useful to share with the wider sector?
Um, I think just from myself, like I said, I work for Pessipool and we are doing kind of webinars and training for employers around supporting neurodiverse employees. Yeah, so I suppose I can share some information with everyone around that. The webinars are free, you know, anyone can join. And we did one last week that was around inclusive recruitment. So, you know, about sending the questions that, you know, for interviews before the interview so that people can prepare. Because I know for myself, I don't think I've ever got a job when I've gone for a proper interview, as you would say, because I can't find my words, I can't think quickly enough, I get flustered. So I think just creating those inclusive, comfortable environments so you can get the best candidates as well. So we did quite a lot of different training sessions for different topics around how employers can support inclusive workplaces.
Emma, are you aware of the Anna Freud autism training manuals.
Yeah. Yes.
I thought you might be somehow.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. We're doing a lot of work internally. So we're doing a lot of work around inclusion and communication amongst our team. And getting that feedback and then introducing new policies, new ways of working to then share. That's the kind of approach we're taking, sharing with others who can use some of the things we've learned.
It's interesting you say, Neil. 'Cause I attended the Anna Freud National Autism Training and delivered it in our workplace with an expert by experience. Are you on that expert by experience in that program as well, or?
I'm expert by experience within the NHS
Mm.
and did the Anna Freud training and also did MROC peer support training as well.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, because they aren't running the training anymore, I believe. It's ended, hasn't it, the Anna Freud? They're
Yes,
not running the
yes, the
training anymore, but
whole of NATP's finished now. Yes.
mm, mm. Oh well, if we ever want to run it again, because I think we will run it within our workplace, sort of,
Mm.
we might be able to link up because it wasn't someone in Cheshire East that I worked with last time.
Yeah,
So
that'd be fine.
good to have met you then. Sorry to.
Mm. Oh yes. Anyway, this is something that I would like to do is to, again, maybe through the neurodivergent community side of what I do, is to engage with places like doctors' surgeries. I know they should be doing McGowan training as well, but doctors' surgeries and just outside in business places, and to go through some of the principles that were in that. The Anna Freud and just go through that with them, maybe in conjunction with a business person or even a clinician or just somebody from an organization and myself.
Super, thank you all. You mentioned a few things there. If any of you who knows of any like those webinars that you mentioned, any training, if you send it to me and Laura via email after this session, we'll add it to that neuro inclusion page, which should be available in the next month or so. Super. So then the final question for this bit is, what do you need? Basically, it doesn't have to be CBS delivering it. It's as I said, we're not funded for this, but it's just thinking about practical tools or resources or more networks like this. What would help you to be more inclusive?
This, what you created today, I think is a really great experience. I've heard every single person say something and I thought, that's a very good point. Or I didn't know that. And the importance of networking, like today's only us, but maybe if another session like this happens in the future and more people are connected, word of mouth, this is very important. I found it very positive, being able to connect with different backgrounds. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly, Anna. And it's just creating that space and, like you said, finding people who understand you and understand what neurodivergent people can go through. Anything else on there? Any other? We're very keen, like we do an introduction to neurodivergence training, but I'm very keen to signpost to you specialist organizations like Space for Autism, like Vision, for sort of that higher level training about supporting individuals with neurodivergence. But again, send me any training you have and we'll include it. And we'll be sharing this recording and notes with others from the sector. Go ahead, Gary.
So yeah, sort of leading on from what I was saying earlier, um, what do people think about having a if this is going to be quarterly, but how about including other people from other areas, or is that counterproductive because the people that you're supporting wouldn't want to go to Warrington or wouldn't want to go to Chester or whatever? Is there more benefit in Cheshire East having their own group of people supporting each other, or do you think it should be extended to further areas? Was just one question I was interested in people's views on. Um, and then secondly, I wonder if people thought it was worth I know we talk about mapping all the time, but mapping what's out there. Are you as a Cheshire East, let's call you an alliance, going to map who you are and what you do, and should we do it across the Cheshire and Warrington patch? I'm just wondering from the point of view of potential funding opportunities as well as potential service opportunities. It potentially would be nice to know who's who and what's what, rather than waiting for a funding opportunity to come down and we're all scrabbling around trying to see, work out who's who and who's where. So I was just wondering whether or not it was worth trying to do some simple mapping in the short term, just so we know who's who and at least, basic services and contact details, so at least we can contact each other. Then you could move on to mapping it to enable people to work out what's going on, as in, people who are looking for support. So that would need more funding and more resource, I think, in terms of keeping a website up to date or a directory up to date or a single point of access type of thing. That might be something for the future, but I think that would certainly need resourcing if that was going to happen. So I was just wondering what people's views were.
Thank you, Gary. And any immediate thoughts on that from anyone?
Silence.
I think from myself, it's good to know because we're all in Cheshire, and I think I don't think currently with anyone on the call, so it's good to get links, isn't it, across as well, because you can share things and work wider. I suppose that's my perspective.
I find certainly, I mean, Emma, obviously, I know of you and I knew of Space for Autism, but Neil, I didn't know of your organisation.
Mm.
And as a voluntary sector rep, it would be great if I could have everybody mapped. I personally think it would be really good to have it cross Cheshire because a number of the organisations are cross Cheshire anyway. But it would be nice to have some kind of parameters or description of what does this organisation do? And is it in a specific locality, for example? So I know there's a very small group in Nantwich currently, which is a woman-specific organisation that probably most people don't know about. So it'd be great to get some of those smaller organisations mapped as well, just so that we have a toolkit of where we can point people to.
Definitely, we get a lot of phone calls for support and people that can't get to us. I think someone was on the call from Middlewich. So yeah, it's having that information as well and be able to signpost people.
Yeah.
And I think one of the good things is that if the support and advice, whatever, is actually peer led, and it makes it so much better when you say, "Been through that. Here's how I did it," and to actually be able to say, "Okay, here's that. Now, do you have any ideas that we might be able to say?" So that it's interactive with our service users because we're all an expert in our own divergence.
Exactly. Thank you, Neil. So I'm sort of hearing from that a mapping of groups that support neurodivergent individuals or provide any neurodivergent support would be useful. And Gary, a lot of the services do sort of go across Cheshire East and Cheshire West, so it probably is worth considering in future whether we have a wider network with everyone. But we will take away all the thoughts and notes from today and sort of come back to you with some actions.
I was just going to respond to Neil about it. In terms of the Cheshire West, there is an autism program board that's run by the local authority, whereby people are on that board who are neurodiverse, and organised by one of the members of the staff in Cheshire West, who's also himself neurodiverse. So, and there's a lot of work that goes on with trying to make sure the voice of lived experience is included in decision making and co-design and co-production and all that sort of stuff. So it's not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. But yeah, I think it's a very important point about getting peer support is a really important aspect of all of this, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I know that, for example, with Cheshire and Wirral Partnership that there's a really good autism participation group that are regularly consulted on all sorts of things.
Mm.
Thanks, Neil. And if you can send us a link to that Cheshire and Wirral partnership, that we'll have a look. We're keeping a note and recording the session so we can make a list of any groups that were mentioned to sort of create a directory for all of you.
Cheshire and Wirral Partnership is the NHS Mental Health Trust for the area, so that's just fairly easy to access, and then just go for the autism information on there.
Super, thank you, Neil. And Lorraine?
I was just thinking, could we do both? Could we have Cheshire wide and then local groups as well? Because I think there is something to be said for maybe coming into each other's space, and then people can give feedback and saying, well, we think this is a good space, or this could improve it, or that could improve it. And face to face is good. And I'm wondering whether we could do both, have some local groups who anybody could go to, so you wouldn't have and have the Cheshire wide. Don't know what anybody else thinks.
I just think we need to know who everybody is and what they offer. Because I personally find at the moment, depending on who stood in front of me, I might know what that person needs in terms of support, but I won't know where to refer them to. Certainly, I mean, obviously, Lorraine, I know where you are, I know what you do, and it's ace. Out here in Aldlam, where I live, very, very rural, where do I send somebody to? Do I send them to Nantwich, or do I send them over Sandbach Way, or do I send them Middlewich Way, or do I send them over to APS? It's knowing what they do. And the groups are also different. I mean, this one in Nantwich, very much, I would say, socially fairly well-adjusted women who want to meet socially. It's not advice, it's not therapy. And you need to know that before you say it, don't you? So it's knowing what people do, and it's quite disparate. And I agree with Emma that it would be really good if we could get those groups together so that they all get to know what each other are doing. And ultimately, if funding, as Gary said, if funding becomes available, if all those groups know each other, it's increasingly getting to the point where commissioners are going to want a county-wide service, and it's going to need a number of providers to get together to actually provide that, particularly geographically. It's a big map, isn't it, really? So yeah, I think getting the groups together could be really useful.
Thank you, Cindy. And Laura, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, just on the mapping, I was just thinking about sort of making sure we use the mechanisms that are already around. So like in Cheshire East, there's the Live Well directory on the council website, and it's not got everything on, but it has got, you know, if you look on there, you know, there's a section autism related services, and there's quite a lot listed. So I wonder whether, in a way, instead of sort of recreating something, because that does include community voluntary sector organisations as well as statutory, I don't know whether that might be a good way to do it, because I think already you hear from people they don't know where to go to look, and we're always trying to tell people, oh, have to go to the Live Well, you know, directory, or sort of using things that are already there. Because I suppose that was just my thought on it. You know, I wouldn't want, if a lot of time and energy we went into a directory, it's the ongoing maintenance of that too, because it has to be up to date, because nothing more frustrating is for a family than, oh, there's a service on there and then it doesn't exist anymore, and funding changes, doesn't it, as we all know, so fast. That was just my thought on it. I wondered whether that could be something we used, that the infrastructure is sort of already there, and perhaps this network could, on a quarterly basis, feed into updating the autism page on, and I know it's not just autism, that was just what I searched for, but just a consideration.
Yeah, I think that's important, Laura, that we're not, you know, remaking the wheel and duplicating something else. I know in previous calls I've had with Cheshire East Council, they have sort of said the accuracy of the Live Well website is very much dependent on groups going on and updating their information or contacting. So maybe us as a network could just all dedicate, okay, we will go check that our services are on the neurodivergent support page or something like that. Are all the details up to date? Rather than creating a duplicate. And then again, it's the time effort of making sure everything is kept up to date and accurate.
And is there a similar one in Cheshire West? I don't know, because I was just thinking, in a way, we could also use each other's, rather than necessarily it being a joint one, it could be.
You've opened a can of worms.
Sorry.
It's quite right. Yeah, no, there is one. Everybody generally recognises it's rubbish. Bless their hearts. And they are trying to. It's the navigation. It's just really complex and difficult and clunky. And you're quite right that people really, because it is clunky and nobody sort of really thinks about it, people don't keep the information up to date. So Cheshire West are trying to do some work on trying to make it simpler, trying to cut some stuff out of it. But that's sort of like, I suspect, a medium term project. We in Cheshire West, the Voluntary Action, we're trying to put together services of our members, which is also providing services, but we're not trying to outdo Live Well. But it's just naturally starting to map the provision of our members. But of course, that's just in Cheshire East. So even including AI. So at some point, you should be able to say, can you please provide me with autism services in Tattenhall? And it'll tell you the nearest ones to there. So that's where we're trying to head. But yeah, that's not Cheshire wide. But yeah, but you're not wrong about it. If all of us made sure that Live Well was accurate and that it was made a little bit easier to navigate, that probably is the easiest solution.
Yeah, because every local authority are legally obliged to have a Live Well web page or equivalent. So Warrington will have one. Everybody, all local authorities have to have one. They just vary in quality, don't they? Hugely, like you just said.
Yeah, thank you. That's a good action for all of us after this network. Check that your organisation is on there and that it's up to date, including CVS. Right, we're just going to move, unless anyone else has any comments, we're just going to move on to the... Oh, go ahead, Joseph. It is Joseph, isn't it?
A quick one. So a few months ago for a AWS hackathon project, the what's called one of the teams I was working with, we had a chatbot with given information that we use from the King's Trust, but from what Gary says, so with the chatbot, we could use some of the technology that we use kind of from like the chatbot and things like that, and we can apply that to things like Cheshire West and other organisations with the good information.
Thank you, Joseph. And yeah, making the most of AI because it can simplify your life so much with some little challenges, but thank you for that. Right, we're now just going to move on to getting some answers from you about what you want from this network. So I'm going to share my screen. If you could either scan that QR code onto your phone, and then it should pop up with questions. Otherwise, you can go to menti.com and type in the code just there. And again, if any of you struggle to get onto Mentimeter, you can just speak your thoughts out loud. That's a good start. There's a need. Mainly, yes, one somewhat for this network. Super. And then we'll go on to the next question. So the overall goals I talked about, that the network is there to support local charities, non-profits in Cheshire East. Do you sort of agree with that as a goal? Do you think it should be something else? Obviously, we've had that discussion about having a Cheshire-wide network, but we'll pick that up after this meeting. I'm very impressed. You've all gotten onto this very quickly. we've had in past when no one can get onto it.
Don't know if it happened to anybody else, but mine actually worked its way through to a law company when I went onto the QR code.
Oh, really? That shouldn't happen. Otherwise, Neil, you can go on to menti.com.
I think it was an advert that popped up. I had the advert pop up, but
Yeah.
at the top there was the web address I could tap on. But yeah,
Adverts. But yeah, you can go on to menti.com otherwise, Neil, and type in that code. So overall, yes, we agree with the goal of the network. And any comments or suggestions, you've already made a few throughout this call, but if you want to type in anything, I'll also send you a link. I'll share a link to the evaluation form. So anything you want to share, any ideas you have, please also put it in there. I'll give you a few minutes for a couple minutes for this, so you can type in suggestions. So a Cheshire-wide get-together would be nice, but also local meetings, find and support the network, championing and friendly community. That will be great, and that's what we're hoping to continue with this network. More guest speakers. And yes, I was signposted to Anna by our deputy CEO, who saw her speak and said how amazing she was. So thank you again to Anna. Links to partner and work together, map provision, using Live Well First. I agree with that. Links between groups, and it would be good if we have actionable steps after the sessions. Yeah. Go usable tips, share experiences, recognize strengths and weaknesses, and accept practical suggestions. Yeah, so we might focus, I'll come on to that question in a moment, but we might focus the next network around practical things you can do in your organization. Just go on to the next one. So like I said, we haven't got funding for this, but we'd love to keep doing it. In a year's time, let's say we do one of these meetings every 3-4 months, what would make you say the network is a success? What would you like to see? So we've got the groups talking to each other, sharing information, being visible, building connections, learning from experience, joined up offer of services. That's definitely a big one across any of the areas we work in. Knowing who's out there, getting knowledge of the networks, groups joining, more appropriate, suitable and specific support for those diagnosed, as well as support for those supporting family. Yeah. Yeah, and that's often a missed thing where people who are supporting neurodivergent people also need support and guidance. Relationships that allow conversations, help people to feel more supported, and sharing and implementing tips. Yeah, neurotypical people like myself have improved practice and provision. Yeah, and that's the ultimate goal, to make all of your services more inclusive. Thank you for that. I'll move on to the next one. If you do still type in your comments, we'll share all of these after the meeting. Next one, sorry, all the questions. There's not that many left, I don't think, but more than halfway through. What do you personally want to gain from this network? What would you like to go away at the end of each network with? Super. So connections with local groups, more knowledge, more experience, community and connections. Connections, right? I'm seeing a trend there. Knowing that you're making a difference, having great connections with the Cheshire East Council. Yeah, and we'll definitely we'll see what comes out of this, but I think we'll be talking to Cheshire East Council about if we can get the network funded, how we can work to get their Live Well website up to date. Consultation opportunities, definitely knowing how to support and recruit neurodiverse staff and volunteers, hearing neurodivergent voices to learn from them, and yeah, practical ways to make the organisation more inclusive. If any of you haven't been on our neurodivergence in the voluntary sector training, that does run through practical steps your organisation can take to be more accessible to neuro-inclusive people. I think our next session is, I think it's next week. Let me have a look when it is. It's coming up soon. That's, where's my website? Bear with me. Yeah, so our next live session is on the 14th of April. So I'll include a link in the actions from this session. So you can join that and we talk through practical ways that you can be more inclusive. And a few more, yeah, connect, practical ways. Super, and go on to the next question. So it's a little bit of repetition. I probably could shorten these questions, but what would make attending worth your time? Do you want us to have a guest speaker at each session? Do you want more time for networking? Obviously, it's a little bit of a challenge when we do it online because you can network, but it's a bit limited compared to in person. So just have a think of what you think will be useful for the next session.
Ellen, you're muted.
Hello, I'm talking. Thank you, Anna. You didn't hear any of that. Yeah, inconsistency, not having the opportunity to join sessions remotely. If it became bogged down with a mapping exercise, felt a positive solution vibe. I like that. Not being able to work, to manage workload, personal life, having too much happening at once does cause burnout. Yeah, and I'll get your feedback on how frequently we should do these networks in one of the next questions. Only when it clashes something in the diary. Yeah, I mean, Zoom is so accessible for people. And what we might consider doing is doing a sort of hybrid network. So if people want to come in person, they can. If they want to join on Zoom, they can. And then we'll just have networking for the in-person people and the Zoom people. Quarterlies again is ideal. Too often would stop being engaging. Okay, you're sort of answering one of my next questions. Quarterly Zooms sounds sounds like everyone would like that. I'll just go on to the next one. But again, if you haven't had time to type your comment, do put it in the evaluation form. Any topics we should prioritize? I sort of thought having like an assigned topic for each network to just focus us so we're not sort of going over the same thing over and over again. Got a few there. Reasonable adjustments. Yeah, that's definitely worthwhile covering. How to engage with the wider community. Yeah, because of course not everyone can make this meeting today. I mean, I think we had 21 people registered, so about how many have we got? Quite a few of them just couldn't make it, unfortunately. Relationships, employability, and self-care. Learning how organizations work with people with additional support needs. Practical advice. Training to take to employers, ADHD and dyslexia plus dual diagnosis, and yeah, different attendees could suggest the focus if they want to. Not sure on priority, but environment will be good, sharing what's supportive and least supportive. Yeah, and again, we want to be led by you. So if any of you are interested in being a guest speaker or sharing your experience at the next network, please do put it in the evaluation form or drop me an email. Only a couple of questions left. I made way too many questions. Apologies. Next time it will be 3 questions, I promise. So how often would you like the networks? Monthly, quarterly, every 6 months, or annually? Okay, so there's majority rule. I think quarterly sounds like the way forward. But again, there is nothing stopping, I'll send, I can't talk. I'll send all of your contact details to each other after this meeting. And if you want to get in touch, have a chat with someone, please just reach out directly. Yeah, quarterly seems reasonable then. In what format do you want the network? Do you want it online, in person, a mixture of both? So I should have clarified there. Do we mean hybrid, or do we mean some online, some in person? Yeah, so kind of a mix of both. In person wasn't the highest rated. So we'll have a think about that and we'll come back to you with a plan. And then this is something else, although Anna, I wasn't aware that there was sort of a autism podcast, so I will definitely check that out. But would you listen to sort of a podcast, pre-recorded sort of information sessions on neuro inclusion, or would you prefer just to come to a network and hear it there? Okay, so kind of a mix there. Yes, maybe, probably not. Okay, and I think that's our last question, I believe. Yes, it is. Right. Thank you all very much for taking part in that. Sorry, there's a few too many questions. I got carried away. Yes, so now it's basically just a wrap up and thank you. So let me share my slides again. Bear with me. So next steps from today. So we'll write up the notes from today and share them all with you early next week or mid next week. We'll also be sharing it with the wider sector. So we'll have information on our neuro inclusion page. I'll schedule the next network sort of June, July, sort of in 3-4 months time from now. And we'll start developing a neuro inclusion web page. So any information you want to share, any information you think will be useful for the page, please send over to me and Laura, and we'll include it. Yeah, and I've just said that, share any useful materials, and then just think about what you want from the next network. And please do keep in touch because we want to hear from all of you and sort of be led by you. Any final questions or thoughts?
Thought that was a great first meeting though, Helen, like, a good agenda, and it felt really positive. So pleased to be part of it.
Thank you,
And
Laura.
thanks again.
Lovely to have you.
Yeah, and Anna, honestly, that your talk I think will stay with lots of us. Just definitely given me a lot of food for thought there. So thanks so much for your talk.
I'm glad that if I can contribute in anything. So yeah, I'm glad that you're taking something from it, which is great. Thank you for having me, Helen. So, Laura.
Thank you so much, Anna. I've also pasted in the chat an evaluation form. If you could please, I'll take a moment at the end of this session just to fill that in. That will be useful if we're looking in future to hopefully get funding for this, get more support, and sort of expand the network. So I'd really appreciate if you could take a moment to fill that in. And a huge thanks again to Anna for being a wonderful guest speaker. I took so much from your presentation. I think it struck a chord with a lot of us. And a huge thanks to my wonderful colleague Laura, who has taught me so much about neurodivergence and has been integral in developing this network and our training. Anyone else? Any questions? We'll arrange the next network and we'll be in touch with notes. Otherwise, I will see you all soon.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye.
everyone. Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.